Ridder, in my opinion, especially this first year, full year that he starts, if that's assuming if he starts a full year, because you've got the guy who steals a lot of people's jobs. You've got Taylor Heineke. So we'll see what happens with him.
Right.
But I feel like with Ridder, he's going to be like a guy who's going to be a great running threat, obviously, but isn't necessarily going to elevate your team right away. And so if you bring in Landry, it's like, I don't think his production wouldn't get any better as it was in Cleveland. But my point about Ridder, obviously started to pick up the last few games, his production, but it is to be noted that the last game they were playing the Buccaneers, which were they resting? I think they were resting all of their starters. And then the second last game was against the Falcons. Those were the two main games that he did really good in. Not Falcons, Cardinals.
Yeah.
And so are you sold that he's the QB of the future? What steps does he need to take this season for you to be completely sold?
I am kind of sold on Desmond Ridder. Now, one thing that my bro Matt Mike, my mentor, always says is wait and see. I know fans
Yeah.
hate to hear that. We hate to hear wait and see. Everybody loves predictions and to make that, that great prediction. But personally, I do think that Desmond Ridder is the guy, just the way that he carries himself and just by his collegiate career. Now, I know this is a whole different level in the NFL because we've seen guys that were great QBs in college and then come to the NFL and really don't pan out. But personally, I definitely think that Desmond Ridder has a chance because we've seen every game he kind of progressed and got better and better and better as the season went on. But I think that he's one of those guys that's a grinder, similar to Jalen Hurts. And I did a video on my channel where I kind of talked about Desmond Ridder kind of puts me in the mind of a Jalen Hurts where he's always kind of been counted out. He's kind of been that underdog where a lot of people haven't believed in him. And if you remember a couple seasons ago, prior to Jalen Hurts, leading the Philadelphia Eagles to the Super Bowl and was he talked last year, everybody was wondering, was he really the guy last year, going into the season
Yeah.
prior to last season. And I kind of put Desmond Ridder in that same kind of boat or category. It's like, we don't really know how good he can be or how good he will be. But I believe because he's a hard worker, he works off the field. He's a true professional and like a gym rat, a guy that stays in there, a guy that, reaches out to his teammates is one of those guys that's going to outwork everybody. I really think that he's going to have a really good NFL career. And if you just look at the heights that he took Cincinnati to, the Cincinnati Bearcats, his record in college was like impeccable. For him to get them to the college football playoff, that says a lot about not only him as a person, but everybody raves about his leadership. And we know the quarterback position, you have to be a leader to be that franchise type guy. And I really feel like he has all of the tools to definitely, be the quarterback of the future for the Falcons and possibly be that franchise guy. Now, he still has a lot of work to do because I don't believe in handing out, just handing the keys to, a rookie quarterback or a young guy just stating that he's going to be the next great, because we don't know that. We haven't seen it yet. But I'll say he's trending upward. Everything that I've seen, everything that I've heard out of Flowery Branch, as far as the coaches and the players, everybody raves about him. Grady Jarrett, who I feel is like one of the leaders of this Atlanta Falcons team, especially on the defensive side of the ball, he raves about Desmond Ridder, stating that he's a great leader. And from the clips that I've seen and just from last season, I definitely think that Desmond Ridder has what it takes to definitely be a franchise quarterback. But we have to wait and see. That's what I say. So we'll see this season, because like you said, Taylor Heineke is lurking. And funny thing about Taylor Heineke is I actually know a lot about Taylor Heineke because I actually seen him play in college. He actually went to the same university that my wife went to. Amanda Red, that's in the chat. That's my wife. And she actually attended Old Dominion University. And that's where Taylor Heineke started, played his college football. So I've seen Taylor Heineke all the way up. So he's one of those guys that he's chomping at the bit to get an opportunity. And we've seen everywhere he's been, when he's gotten his opportunity, he's definitely a guy that can win a couple games for you. So I definitely think that Desmond Ridder is going to be on his P's and Q's because we know Taylor Heineke is capable.
Yeah, I mean, the veteran presence there is going to help for sure. I would say that when I look at that film of what Desmond Ridder did from last season, definitely something that that they need to improve on. I don't know if you see the same thing, but keeping your eyes downfield when the pressure gets tough instead of just taking off and running. Although that's not a bad thing, but I feel like if you just wait a split second longer, a window opens up, something like that, his patience. But obviously, I think a lot of the arguments that you can make about Desmond Ridder, you can make about a guy like Trey Lance, a guy that, a lot of people are like, oh, he's not he hasn't done good right away, but it's like he's only started a few games and you need to give him more time. And as time goes on, he's going to get more patient. The thing that I like about Desmond Ridder is this guy started 4 years. And really, if he would have been in any other draft, he would have probably gone in the first round. But because that draft was so talked down by scouts, which rightfully so. I mean, not a ton of the quarterbacks coming out of there have been very impressive. But you know, this guy still has time, and he's only started what, like 4 games, I think it is, 5 games. So yeah, very impressive to say the least. I would just like to see him maybe go through his progressions a little more instead of taking off.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. And I feel like with Desmond Ritter, another thing that, like, if you're the casual fan or if you haven't actually,
Mm-hmm.
got to watch the Falcons games in that last 4 games of the season when he took over as the starter, he really only had Drake London, because Kyle Pitts
Yeah,
suffered
that's
that
true.
injury. So he really didn't have a lot of weapons. So I really cater that to that. And that's why I keep stating that I believe that is going to play better this season because we've added those weapons. And that's similar to, like I said, with Jalen Hurts. It was the same similar situation with the Eagles before they drafted Devontae Smith, before they got A.J. Brown. The Eagles didn't have a ton of receivers. And that's kind of
Yeah.
where I see with Desmond Ridder as well. Last year,
Yeah.
he really didn't have the weapons. Yeah, you had the guys in the backfield. You had Cordell Patterson, you had Tyler Algier. But outside of Drake London, you had guys like Olamide Zaccheaus, no disrespect, to him.
Yeah.
You really didn't have any household names on the outside. And you had guys like Michael Pruitt who took over for Kyle
Mm-hmm.
Pitts. So we had, second and third string type guys that were filling in. So he really wasn't playing with that top tier talent. So sometimes in a quarterback situation, it's kind of hard to tell how good a quarterback is. Similar to what you're saying with Trey Lance, until he plays with, more talented players, it's hard for me to kind of put my finger on, is it him or is it the guys around?